what grinds my gears more than anything else is Yuumi players that type the whole game, right? Okay, what if they made it so you can't type if you're attached on Yuumi? your chat doesn't work.
That's actually so good. That's so good.
There's nothing more annoying than a keyboard warrior Yuumi who's like vision score of 1 at like 30 minutes. They're like telling people what to do. I'm going to lose my entire mind right now.
Oh, that's funny.
That is good. It disables your chat. You can't hit enter.
It makes meow noises.
Actually,
it actually types out no matter what.
Meow,
you
meow,
type.
meow, meow.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia, Season 9, Episode 25. We just had our first week back of the LTA, and we have some big news all across League of Legends. Of course, the best player of all time, Faker, has re-signed, and
We're saved.
it was
yay!
it was like a couple of years ago when I remember making a big tweet about, oh my God, Faker, yeah, look, he's winning World Championship again. Like, age doesn't matter. And now he's signing again. What is it, another 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 more years till 2029. And so it really, really doesn't matter, which is very good for us. Like, if he can keep on going, then nobody else has excuses for quitting.
Yeah, I've always thought, I've always been a big believer of that, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
since I was
Me too.
like 23 years old, people were saying, "Oh, like he's old now," and I'm like, "What do you mean I'm old? I'm 23. Like this isn't old." And then you just keep getting older, and people keep saying like, "Oh, you're too old. You're too old. You're too old." But I feel like a lot of people making that argument, I'm like, "Dude, you probably sucked when you were young too. Like you're just using it as an excuse for yourself."
True.
I mean, I've always felt like it is so much more about like staying motivated and staying interested. Like that is the hard part. It is really hard to stay disciplined. When you are younger, I think it is easier to have a single-minded focus that it takes to be really great at a game or just anything, right? Because often when you're 20 or you're 17 or whatever, like when I first became a pro when I was 17, I had nothing else going on in my life. Like that was it. You know what I mean? And as you get older, if you want to spend more time with your family, if you want to have more balance in your life, or I want to start working out, or I have a girlfriend now, I want to spend time with her, or I don't know, I'm into these other hobbies or whatever. It's like as soon as you get down that road, then yeah, you're going to get worse because you're not playing as much, you're not practicing as much, you no longer have that single-minded focus. But it is really cool to have those concrete examples, and I think as pro gaming, continues to kind of go further and further, like we have more history of it, we're seeing more and more examples. There's always been these like fighting game examples of guys in their 30s. There's guys in their 30s that are killing it in Counter-Strike and stuff. Obviously, Faker is 29. He's signed for 4 more years. I still think he's going to be killing it in 4 more years, right? Like
40 more years, maybe.
There you go. And there's all kinds of studies as well that like I had read in the past about, reaction times it's more about practice and stuff than it is about like just like necessarily age. Like your reaction speed and stuff doesn't necessarily like significantly decrease unless you stop actually using those skills and practicing those skills. Then as you age, it is naturally going to decrease. But it's more, there was like examples of like concert pianists and things like this, and it's more like your 40s, your 50s that it actually starts to decline even with practice. So I mean, I think people have a long runway. It's like if LeBron can play basketball at 40, we can play video games at 30. Come on, guys.
Yep, totally agree. And I'm just so happy that Faker's still playing because even with MSI and stuff, it's like anytime there's a T1 game anywhere across the entire globe, it is the home field game, right? It's like LCK viewership probably doubles or whatever when T1's playing, right? It's like everyone's there for Faker. So if he ever stopped playing, that would be like the darkest day in league history.
Yeah, he re-signed. Gonna continue to save more and more viewership numbers.
Yep.
There you go. Well into the future.
MSI new peak again. Thank you, Faker.
Yep. Good job. Still getting back to finals.
Yeah. Man, last week being sick and missing the dive, I was trying to think. I don't know. I'm sure I've at some point missed the dive for being sick, but I got boomed on my flight. And I'm sure you guys have had flights like this before too.
You sit down and you knew.
And I knew. And it was the worst too, because the person who was patient 0 was a total jerk about it too. So I get to my seat and this lady is in my seat and I'm like, oh, like that's my seat. And she's like, well, can't you just sit in the middle? And I was like,
What the?
I was like,
especially if it's middle versus aisle.
it was middle. Yeah. I'm like, oh, sorry. Nah. Like, I want to sit in my seat. And she's like, like, well, I thought I was going to have more room. And she's like grumbling about it and stuff. And I sit down and she's, and she's coughing all over me. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this deserves the execution, like off of their head. Like, oh my God. I'm not normally a fan of capital punishment, but there are exceptions.
Azael's calling the air marshal on the plane. Excuse me, we need to do something about this terrorist sitting next to me.
Yeah, no, she was absolutely like a sickness terrorist. She just was coughing everywhere, not covering her mouth. It was butt, and she completely boomed me. I still feel a little bit sick, and it's been like a while. So yeah.
Do you remember her face? This hatred,
burned.
the hatred is burned into your head.
I'll track her down. But yeah, it's the worst because there's no escaping it, right? Like it's like when I was mentioning this to you, you're like, it should be illegal to get on the flights when you're sick, and it feels like that. Obviously, I know in practicality it wouldn't really work because how are you going to enforce it? And then if they do kick them off, then they have to refund them, and then all this stuff. But man, it sucks when you get on a long flight and you sit down and the person next to you is super sick. It's just that's the worst.
Yeah, it's terrible. I feel like the one thing I've been noticing lately on planes, like every single time I fly, I don't think I've ever had a flight without a screaming baby in my vicinity. And it's crazy because obviously it's not as bad as someone being sick right next to you, but it's one of those things that makes it feel like we're living in a simulation because it's like you would think there would be one flight without a screaming baby, but no, there's always
tracking you down.
There's always a screaming baby, no matter what. Like how many people really need to fly with their screaming child? Like I don't get it, but it is so consistent.
That's gonna be me. I'll bring my baby. I'll track you down.
Come sit next.
I'll be like, hey, Will, what flight are you on, brother? 14A. Oh, 14B is open.
Oh, sweet.
Well, I don't know about you guys. My flight was fine. I popped in my earbuds, listened to my audio tape book, and I was chilling.
Yeah, I will say AirPods are pretty soundproof these days. You can still hear the baby, but at least I feel like I can combat that, you know?
Yeah.
But there was nothing you could do to combat this lady sitting next to you. You had no.
There was no counterplay.
You could duct tape her mouth shut.
I was leaning against Chovy in the mid lane. There was nothing I could do.
Oh God!
It was just cooked.
Even how it started with the thing where, I mean, I highly, highly, highly value aisle seats way more over middle seats.
Of course, middle seat is cursed,
and even window seat.
I'm a window seat
because I don't like I get up to go to the bathroom and I don't like asking people to get up or whatever.
Yeah.
So even the thing of being like upset that you're like, well, I want my aisle seat. I was like, well,
I knew I was in for it.
Yeah, that lady is not it.
No, she was cooked. She was trying to bully me out of it. I was not having it. Nope, I'm sitting in my seat. I pay for it. It's mine.
She got the last laugh. You paid for sickness, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Travis Gafford, my actual roommate, is actually leaving. He has done interviews since the very beginning of League of Legends esports. It's actually kind of crazy. He was up at MSI also. He's traveled to so many of the international events. It's been so fun over the years, getting to do events with another one of our friends that comes and travels with us, and he's done a good job over many years of getting a lot of pro players, on interesting interviews and kind of getting their personalities out there for a lot of fans to see. And he also ran Hotline League, another podcast that Mark Zimmerman was also on with him originally, the now commissioner. And so Travis is, he said it is a sabbatical.
Yeah.
So he's leaving the door open for the surprise comeback, I guess.
Yeah, he mentioned, hey, maybe, Worlds and NNA next year. Maybe I want to come back, or maybe I want to do whatever. But he's done at least doing the full-time league content creation. And definitely I have a lot of good memories. It used to be the big part of my routine is because he was always here doing interviews at the studio when it was LCS. I'm sure he interviewed you a million times, and so every week before the show, I'd always watch through his interviews and stuff on YouTube. And it's funny, how he uses Travis Gafford Industries.
Yeah.
That was my idea from All Stars. It was an interview he was doing with me in All Stars, and I was like, we should call it like I'm here with Travis Gafford, and it's like Travis Gafford Industries, and then he like actually liked it, so he made it his whole thing and stuff. So it's just funny, and I mean that was, I don't know, probably the first All Stars in Vegas. I don't even know when that was, like what, 2016, 2017. I have no idea. I can't remember when they were. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of long history. I saw him a bunch of times at MSI. He was always up. Like I'd walk through the lobby at like midnight, and he'd be playing Magic with people and stuff. He was grinding away. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be cool to see what he does. I know he's been wanting to do more Magic, and I know he's really interested in Riftbound, the new league. Well, maybe it's not league, but like Riot card game, physical card game that's coming out and stuff. So it'll be cool to see what he does.
It is also worth mentioning his cameraman for the last 3 or 4 years, Drew Fawcett, is I think going to be spinning up his own YouTube channel, and he put out a video where he did a interview. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
He did one with
which
Blabber,
pro.
I think.
Yeah, so he at least did one with Blabber, and so he's gonna, maybe pick up the mantle here and do some more player interviews and stuff as well. And Drew is also really great, so we'll keep track of him.
Is he still going to be with Travis Gafford Industries, or is he going to be with Drew Industries?
I don't know. Maybe he'll stay under the corporation. He's been in that business for quite a long time.
Yeah, I was definitely sad to see the announcement because like Travis has been there since pretty much the very beginning, right?
Yeah,
like,
he even did like IPLs and stuff before LCS.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people, or at least people from the beginning, remember the story of him like taking in double lift at the very beginning and like helping him get on the path to being a pro player
when he was like, literally homeless.
Yeah, he made a Double made a Reddit post saying like, I'm homeless, and Travis is like, hey, like I'll help you out. And I feel like he's always been just like a nice dude. He's always good vibes, very like friendly and inviting toward people. So it's definitely sad that he's not going to be doing LTA stuff anymore. But if he's got more passion for like card games and stuff, then all the best to him.
You know what's messed up though? He said in his YouTube announcement, doesn't want to be your roommate for the next 10 years, Kobe.
Yeah, he told me.
Called you out. What's up with that?
He told me afterwards, he was like, I wonder if anybody messaged you about this. And I was like, what? No one sent me a message or whatever. But because he was like, I'm really hoping to get a relationship. I like living with Kobe, but if it's another 10 years of this, then we probably have both failed.
So things are looking up for Cat for Kobe. When Travis moves out, it's back, baby. LTA, obviously, Split 3 kicked off last week, and we had some stomps.
It was a speed run.
First versus 8th place. That was certainly a stomp, and then all the other ones were also 2-0s.
Yeah, I mean, I people were probably excited for LCK coming back with like HLE versus Gen G, but like, what about FlyQuest versus DSG? How's that?
Well, that was a stomp is how that was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the format. Do you guys want to just talk about the format a bit off the rip?
Go for it.
I mean, I think it's tough because like I can see both sides of it. I've talked to Mark a lot about format and stuff, and like brought up some of my concerns and things that I thought maybe shouldn't have been the way they are and so on. And he gave me his perspective and like talked about the simulations they had done and stuff. So I kind of have some insight on the people who made the format and kind of like how they are viewing it. And one of the things he talked about is how it's like, the 1 versus 8 and stuff is not expected to be close, but like, with 4 versus 5, had even like one game been won by 100 Thieves, then it kind of changes the whole pick and play thing. Like in LTA South right now, they are having a finals rematch in week 2 because teams won some games. And so basically what happens is like teams are kind of like avoiding the top teams when there's other teams to select. So it ended up being a situation where, it's like had 100 Thieves even won like a game or two, you could have had a C9 versus FlyQuest week 2. My kind of feeling on that is that I feel like because our way that we have our tiebreaker rules is it's match score, game score, then your finishing, like how you finished last split. I felt like 100 Thieves in this situation, I would have rather see the 5th seed, like they go 5th seed because they finished higher than the other teams that they were tied with at 0-2 from last split. I felt like they should have gotten the pick first in my mind, because then in that situation, at least it's like that is the reward for doing better last split. Because in this format, it's like being a higher seed, but you're at the bottom is actually worse, right? Because it meant that they picked last, so they got stuck with FlyQuest. And I also think it it took away some of the matches that could have been kind of closer in the standings. Like, had they gotten the pick first, they could have potentially had that matchup. I assume they would have probably picked Shopify, which I think would have been like a closer matchup.
But now they have to play FlyQuest.
And then if you have all 2-0s again, they probably are going to have to play C9. Hopefully there's not going to be all 2-0s, and hopefully we do have upsets, which we normally have, and just some closer matches and stuff. But I mean, it is interesting. I think there's definitely things that could be changed about it. You know, Mark was also talking about like Swiss as a potential, because obviously like they are these condensed splits, so you can't do like full like double round robin and stuff. You just don't really have time. But you know, Swiss would be an option, which I really like Swiss. But there is like RNG in Swiss too. You can get weird matchups and bad matchups and stuff. But it is also like partially just the reality is that like our top teams are clearly a lot better than our bottom teams. And so in any format, like you are going to end up with some one-sided games as a result. And in my mind, you just then want to move towards the close games as fast as possible, right? Like, which I think is something that Swiss does pretty well, because then you have all the teams that win play each other, all teams that lose play each other, and you kind of get more quickly into the close games, which is what everyone wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, in the ideal world, we just get to play more games and we have more time, and so then it's easier to make good formats. When it is so condensed though, and people are saying, oh, if 100 Thieves had only won a game, but they only get a best of 3.
Yeah.
And so if you consider, well, their matchup is supposed to be like 50-50 because that's the closest
4
one,
versus
right?
5, yeah.
So if 4 versus 5, if you say, for simplicity's sake, that's 50% chance to win a game, then the first game is literally coin flip, 50-50. If you lose that one, then the next one, if you still consider that 50%, then it's 25% of this happening where it's a 2-0 and they don't win a single game.
So it's not that uncommon.
And so
Yeah, and I
you're
mean,
going to end up with the situation where the pickings...
with the way 100 Thieves was playing, I don't know if it was quite a coin.
Theoretically, if it's 50%.
Yeah, they were not good.
Yeah, that was that was definitely a rough comeback to the stage for them. I kind of expected them actually to look a lot better.
Yeah.
I was kind of hesitant. If we want to get into the matches now, since we're talking about it, we can start with that TL 100 Thieves one.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hesitant because of how TL looked at the end, with Impact not looking good, and then having to do all the jungle swaps and stuff, and all of the enemy junglers in the LCS, every single one said that it was easier to play against Team Liquid when they had UG versus when they had Umpty. So I thought that series was going to be closer, but it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, the thing that is actually worrying me a lot for 100 Thieves is I think most teams throughout this split and year improve, right? Like you learn things, and it kind of comes down to like the rate of improvement versus other teams. But 100 Thieves is actually the team that I feel like is not improving or even getting worse in the way that they're playing. And since last split, they kind of had this issue where they would like just fight everything, right? It feels like just the way that they're playing the game and what they're looking for is just off, right? You look at the way FlyQuest plays, it's very controlled. You look at top teams around the world, it's very controlled, objective-oriented, like control, vision, that kind of stuff. But when I watch 100 Thieves play, like they have very low farm in, like, I think it was game 2 against Liquid. It was like both Sniper and FBI were like 140 CS at like 20-something minutes, which is just criminally low for a professional game. And it feels like they just don't really know what's going on, and they just perma group all the time, but not really for any reason. And so to me, it feels like they're just kind of directionless, and maybe their reads for why they're losing isn't actually correct. And then in an attempt to solve it, they're creating more problems. So I don't know. I'm pretty worried about this team from watching them.
It's a little bit weird too, because I know when I talk to the players, they always sound like they're very like hopeful and confident that they've improved and stuff, and that things are getting better. So it's kind of interesting to me, because I interviewed players before that series, and I talked to Jan and Sniper, and obviously you go up a bit earlier, so you're chatting with coaches and other players or whatever, and like Dokla was there, so I was chatting with Dokla and stuff, who's now the positional coach for Sniper, and he's there helping him out. And I was kind of thinking about Sniper, because I was talking with one of my friends, and he was asking me like, how do you view Sniper in year 2 and whatever, because we're kind of getting towards the tail end of his second year, right? And like when he came into the league, he was clearly so rough around the edges, but he had very clear strengths, right? Like he led the league in solo kills. Like he was actually just killing people in lane like all the time. And it felt like he had at least like that real aggression around it. And it's like, yeah, like he clearly still had issues on where to be on the map and like how to play side lanes and like, all of the kind of things that you would expect someone coming out of solo queue to like struggle in competitive play. Cause I think especially for top lane, it's actually really hard to make that transition. But I feel like coming into year 2, when you talk about like regression or maybe not necessarily improving, it does feel tough because it feels like he's lost that kind of like killer instinct where he's a big threat in lane, but also the other side of it doesn't feel like it's really like made up for that or that there's these huge improvements. This week we came in and I thought it's very like unsniper. We have a blind Scion game into a Cassante game, right? And it's like it feels like I don't know if it's just like a coaching thing or if it's a him overthinking thing or if it's I don't know what it is, but it feels like he's kind of lost what his style was. And that's kind of how I feel about some of the 100 Thieves players in general, is it's like they were this like crazy, quick, chaotic, like team that loves to fight you and they're like always going to go aggressive and they're always going to do these things. And I don't know if that's like maybe they're trying to like curb that to be more consistent. Now they're like not consistent and they don't have that aggressive thing, but like it does feel a little bit weird watching them.
Well, that was his first ever career pro Scion game.
Yeah.
By the way, as well. So that's a
and maybe first ever in
I mean,
general.
He's
I'm sorry,
he's
that's
definitely
me.
practiced it. But yeah, I mean, it clearly is a coaching thing. Because they started doing that in scrims. They picked up Dokla to help him like be more well rounded. But even in the stage interview, Sniper said that over the break he got back to more solo queue and what made him that type of player. So it's kind of he was saying that he actually felt like he got more back to what did kind of get him all the solo kills and brought all the hype at the beginning. But clearly he is being coached towards these tanks because this is first career Scion pick here on stage.
It's definitely what he played and how he played was not in line with the statement you just said from him, because I like Sniper when he was doing well, he was playing like Renekton, Aatrox, Olaf type things, like Riven. I don't think she's pickable in many situations, but I would like to see them go that route for Sniper, right? Like put him on Ambessa, Gwen, Camille, whatever. Like try to get a situation where he can play some carry champion. And I know there are swaps, which kind of makes it hard to pull that stuff off. But I don't know. I feel like taking a player who's known for playing carries and then just like slapping him on a Scion and saying like, go get him, champ, is not really going to like work out.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the idea of, well, do we want to take this time to just keep on doing what he's already doing and being good at? Or I guess their perspective, I assume, is this is a chance for growth, and they're bringing in a top lane specific coach, and they want him to learn more, to like broaden champion pool, broaden play style, and they're looking at this part as an opportunity for growth, and maybe like maybe he or they want to display to whatever other organization is going to come in that he does have more versatility, or at least is willing to be coached and can get to that point. Because it's kind of hard, and it will be a lot results based. Because like if he comes out and he just keeps on doing the same thing over again and it's not going very well, then it's very easy to be like, what the hell? Why don't they just slap him on tanks or change something? And then if he's trying to like broaden his horizons or whatever, and then it doesn't go well, what the hell? Just stick to what you know, kid, and get back to solo killing people. So it is always like a tough decision. And clearly, at least the thinking is more coaching here individually, and they're working towards some improvement there.
And Dokla hasn't been there that long, so we'll see. Maybe it will kind of pay dividends over the course of the split. But it definitely wasn't the most promising start for them. And yeah, it's just I feel like they weren't as good as I expected them to be last split. And I feel like this team, for whatever reason, kind of feels like worse than the sum of their parts. Like they it's like FBI when he was coming in, people were pretty excited. And they're like, a lot of players I was talking to were saying, yeah, FBI is like still in scrims one of the best AD carries in the league. Like he's not like at the very tippy top, but he's like third, fourth, whatever. People
He
were
was
ranking
not
him.
looking good.
He wasn't.
He was not looking good.
And obviously Quinn and River, everyone's super hyped about. People were talking about how Ayla is playing way better, you know, in last split and like just in this year in general. Like, he's really stepped up and gotten a lot better. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know people haven't been that hot on Sniper, but in general, it's like, okay, if everyone got better and you have carry threats now in bot lane too, and you have all these things, it's like, well, then like, why isn't it working, right? And so clearly there's like something that is kind of just not going right behind the scenes or whatever with this team that has been a bit of a struggle. But it is a shame because, you know, it's the last split for 100 Thieves. I'd like to see them kind of go out with a bang and actually like, you know, showcase their skills because we know that these guys do have really high peaks. And so we'll see. I mean, the other side of that is that TL, I think, you know, did have a good series.
Yeah. I mean, there are team things for 100 Thieves. I think also like the individual pieces, like
Totally.
I think we talked a lot about Sniper, but yeah, FBI also had some.
I mean, everyone's making fun of the culling.
I mean,
obviously.
that one was pretty.
The culling
wild,
one, but the culling one, like, yeah, they still actually won that fight anyway,
Yeah,
so it wasn't
yeah.
actually as big as like some of the other ones where you know he's dashing up and just getting his head blown off.
Yeah, the one where he dashed in front of Vi, and then he gets Vi ulted, and he flashes further in. It was
Yeah.
like you were dead regardless. But what does flashing in
Yeah.
do? Like just save your flash.
The first game it looked like 100 Thieves was just going to win. I
Yeah.
thought, right? Like they had this kind of like front to back comp with like their front line scaled super well. They had Sion, Trundle, Braum, right, with Ori and Lucian, and it was like early on. I don't remember exactly what the goal lead was, but at least
it
game
was like
state
one or
wise,
two. It was like 1 or 2,000, and I was actually on the analyst desk with Jat, who really emphatically predicted TL 2-0, and he was panicking.
Yeah.
He was like, look at me. He was like, no, take it. Like he was really to that point.
Yeah.
Like that's how much like 100 Thieves did feel like they had a really good step in this game.
and it was going pretty slow. So yeah, at 24 minutes. They were up 2290 gold. So like not enormous, but like most people feel like with that comp, it would be hard to actually fight through the Braum and the Trundle and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, then they took this really weird fight right by Baron, I remember, in the river. And where like FBI was very far up and he just kind of like died. And also their whole front line was like on one side and Quid and FBI were on the other side. And there was like two completely separate fights where they weren't fighting together.
Yeah.
That fight was like super bizarre in the river.
That was the fight where Sniper, he went for a Scion ult at TL, but he kind of whiffed everybody. And he like went past them toward mid lane. They were up by the red side Raptors, and they just kind of walked by him and then killed Lucian. And so when I see that stuff, it's like, okay, if you're playing a full dive comp and you're Scion, why are you even trying to ult at them? Like, just stand on top of your carry and peel. Or if you are going to go for a YOLO engagement like that, it's like you better not hard whiff everybody. So, yeah, seeing that stuff, I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves because throughout my career as jungler, I've played a lot of like frontline engaged type champions. And when I see somebody who's on a tank or an engage or whatever, and they just YOLO throw the fight, it's like not understanding how your team comp works. It's like, hey, you have to peel here, and then you're just engaging. I'm like, you're just completely lost in the sauce. Like you don't even know what you're trying to do. So like it's pretty sad to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I'm looking at this games. If you go back, if you're interested as a viewer, go back to game 1 and pause it at 24:42 and just look at this to me. Like this is I guess I can't turn it all the way around or I'll unplug this sign. I don't know if you can see it, Meteos.
Yeah.
But like look at where Quid is. Look at where all of the front line is. Right? It's like they're so split that to me it was just they got completely lost in the sauce on like maybe they just got excited because they were winning and they're like, oh, let's kill this guy, and kind of losing track of where their carries are. But yeah, I do think the other side of that is that, I mean, Yon, everyone was hyping up Yon, obviously last split, even when TL wasn't looking that good. I thought Yon had an insane series. I thought he played super well in the Kaisa game, and the Ezreal game was actually just nuts. Like he was just flexing on them. Like he was shifting in their face. That fight that he had over in the jungle where he like shifts into the pit and like gets a Q behind someone and kills off Quid, and then I think Sniper flashes on him, and then he just like flashes back over the wall and like kills the other person. And it was like, okay, like this is actually crazy. He was just smurfing, and I think Impact. He had a slow start in the Rumble game, but his Renekton game was really good, and his team fights in the Rumble were good. So I do think,
his Renekton game, that first gank that River did. Do you guys remember that one where like Impact warded, River walked over the ward, Impact eased back, and then you never saw him leave. And Impact's like, I'm probably good now. It just walks up, doesn't flash the combo, dies. I was sitting there like, dude, what are you doing?
It was so funny because they did a vision replay, and they were like, all right, you know, how does River just get around the vision? And he just walks through the ward.
Yeah. Like, sometimes junglers will do some cringe stuff.
Did he never go off vision?
Did he just walk straight past it?
Well, he walked past the ward into the bush, and he was just sitting in the bush.
For like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
1
like
second.
it
wasn't even a long time.
It was really wild. It was, I don't know.
It was so funny.
It was like an object permanence thing. It's like, don't see him right now. Should be fine. But he did bring it back.
Wait, you're right.
He just
Wait, he actually walked out. He E'd back. River was like, I guess I can't gank him.
Yeah.
Walks out of the brush, back onto the ward, and then Impact just immediately walks back up. And he walks back and kills him.
Yeah, it was wild, but
That was funny.
Dude, that game though.
But he slammed the rest of that game.
That looked like such a fun Renekton game.
Yeah.
You know, 100 Thieves drafted. I didn't really like their draft that game. They went Victor with Senna, and it's like I feel like one of those champions can be okay in a certain situation, but if you have both, you're like really low damage for all those like early mid game fights, and then you have Cassante Jarvan, so they just kind of weren't able to kill anybody. Especially, I think the champions that TL had were like very good against that style of champion. The like Renekton, Wukong, bruisers are just good against low damage comps early game. Right? It's like bruisers have trouble when carries are just shredding them in like 3 autos or whatever late game, but Victor and Senna take a long time to get there. So. It was just super hard to play.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely, like I said, I was a little worried for TL coming into this split, and I feel better even just after this series. So getting a little bit of updated gameplay from them. I mean, more so probably the other people, because I was already like, well, yep, Jan and Core JJ are going to be amazing bottom lane. I was already pretty confident in them, but definitely.
I think Core was a beast this game
good.
too. His Alistair, he was just like, just watching him roam around, just like permanently dodging vision, just being so annoying. I'm putting myself in 100 Thieves' shoes, and it's just like, dude, Core is the most annoying player to play against. He is always in a random spot that somehow ends up really good, and it's just like that amount of pressure is very hard to play against.
I will say River had a really cool gank in the first game too. I don't know if you guys remember the Trundle gank that he had for First Blood mid lane. Like obviously when you're just watching it.
He juked because he knew there's a Raptor ward.
Exactly.
So he goes into the bush and comes back on.
Yeah, he tracked the vision on Raptor ward. So he's like looks like he's clearing top to bottom. Yeah. So he walks out the side brush through Raptors on that ward, knowing it's there, and then goes all the way back around the red buff and back through mid lane and gets a kill. And stuff like that is just so smart because like not only are you tracking the enemy vision, you're actively using it against them.
Yeah,
and,
that River's always been.
He always does that.
It's like his bag, like knowing how to get around vision, and that false sense of security is huge.
Exactly
like that's definitely a big part of.
It was really funny. There were so many little ward things that happened in the other one. I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe Contracts, I think. There was a ward that the mid laner placed at his Raptors that left a tiny little sliver.
Yeah. That was a misplaced ward.
Yeah, next to the back of the Dragon Pit, and he just like hugs around that as well. It's like, if you mess up at all warding against junglers, then...
Well, there's actually a trick for that. So if you're jungling, or I mean, you could be playing anything, right? And you see somebody drop a ward, if you have your trinket, you can like... hover your trinket as if you were going to place it, and it'll show you the exact vision radius. So he could see that, like, oh, this doesn't actually cover to the wall. Yeah. And so I know there's a spot around it.
Yeah. That's why I don't do a quick cast on trinket.
That's interesting because I use quick cast on everything.
I don't.
And and so I've never thought about that because I was like, I was literally just thinking in my head, it's tough when it's like a pixel gap to know for sure that it's there, but that makes a lot of sense is that you can actually check it with that. So that's literally going to make me go home and change my trinket to
Yeah, that's the only one I don't have on QuickCast.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. We could talk about the Shopify series if you guys want.
Yeah,
Down.
I was pretty impressed with Shopify. You know, like I mentioned to Yellow last week, I've been on my Ambessa arc. I looked it up. I have like 100 Ambessa games in the past like 3 weeks. I've just been spamming.
Nice. Grinding.
Right.
Yeah, and so when they first picked Ambessa for Fudge, you know, I was pretty hyped. And yeah, he played against the Gwen, against Photon, and he had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, and he was really confident because they only banned Renekton. They're like, all right, or actually, no, they banned Poppy also. That makes sense. If you're going to first pick Ambessa, they're like, all right, the only protection we need for Fudge is the Poppy ban and the Renekton ban. And he's like, yeah, great. I'll play. We'll give Photon his self-described, signature Gwen pick. And looked really good on the Ambessa also. So, I mean, that game also, the actual gank I was talking about from Contracts where he went around the ward that was placed and got the gank on mid lane. That was a like 3 camp level 3 gank super early on and got money on Palafox early too. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the first times where he had Palafox with a gold lead really early on, and he kept the gold lead because they roamed up topside and made a top dive as well.
It just sounds like low-key flame. This is one of the first time Palafox has ever had a gold lead. This was crazy to see.
Christian is my boy. He knows I love him. He definitely had some rough ones last split, so self-admitted. And so it was like really good to see because they used that lead, right? And Annie is a champion that you can roam very effectively on, and so they roamed up topside also. They made the double dive with him and Contracts. They also got Fudge, one of his early kills there for Ambessa.
One thing I do want to mention about that play is Photon had a really insane flash while they were trying to set up the dive because I think Shopify was a little bit like sloppy in their dive setup. Remember, they had like Annie, Ambessa, and Zinjiao. Like they were sitting top for a while trying to force this dive, and then Palafox was like, oh, I'm just losing waves for this. So he flashed the big wall to get like a W flash on Annie, and Photon reacted to it with his... I remember it was like flash or W flash or something.
He's
but like,
W, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a really fast reaction because Annie W flash is like
instant.
Immediate.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that was a prediction or what, but like when I saw that, I was like, wow, this guy, like most people would not get that. That was a very impressive play.
Yeah. I mean, this series was interesting to me because it's like Shopify won, but I don't know how you guys felt. I mean, I thought Dignitas was winning both games and then just kind of had pretty big throws at a certain point. And it felt like, I don't know, like I guess coming into this split, I had some more hope for Dig because I actually think Photon is quite strong as far as laner. I'm not saying I think Dig's gonna like win the split or anything, but like I could have seen them, taking a couple spots, passing some of the teams. And they were looking like pretty promising as far as like early games and stuff were concerned. I mean, I guess they fell a little bit behind early in game 1, but then they kind of like came back through some of those mid lane team fights and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say game 1, I felt like Shopify was just winning that one, but maybe mid game.
So there was that one throw, remember, where like I think it was
were
around Otacon, where they like Annie was bottom. They took a fight 4v5. He like TP'd from bottom to mid, and then everyone on Shopify died around. I think it was around Otacon. And so they did throw a decent amount, but like honestly, I think the biggest thing for me that stuck out as like a weakness for Dig was I thought Tomo was not playing well, and like he wasn't terrible in that he was like feeding his brains out, but I thought his Corki build game 1 was reportable. He went Navori's Quick Blade 4th item on Corki, which was like
people are doing some weird stuff on Corki.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, that makes literally no sense. Normally you would go in that situation, you would go like Lord Doms in that 4th item. Or if you're not going to go Lord Dom, someone with his deal, it's like, okay, rapid fire. He wants a little bit more range. And then he went Navori. Like, that makes no sense on Corki. You don't have attack speed. You're not, and you're resetting like your Q and your E. It doesn't work on your rockets. Like, that was so crazy to me to see. I really didn't like that. And then game 2, he picked Kalista, which everyone, the entire community's been saying for a long time, is like, stop picking Kalista. It's like I guess you think you're the protagonist, and it's like, yeah, I know, like the best teams in the world can't win with Kalista, but they're not me. Like, hold my beer kind of deal. So, and then it was the same story. It was like kind of going okay early, and then you just reach a point in the game where it's like, wait a minute, we have Callisto. Like, we don't have a damage dealer as our AD carry, and they just lost.
I'm curious, how do you feel about because we've seen in pro some people doing the like Overlord's Bloodmail Corki and stuff too. I just truly do not understand how this like Black Cleaver Overlord's Bloodmail with no Triforce build is supposed to be better than just Triforce Shojin Corki. Like, I actually just don't get it. And like the people that I've asked about it, like, no one can give me a good reason. They're just like, well, you're really tanky and you shred armor fast. And I'm like, yeah, I know like what Black Cleaver does, but
So the ones where I did like it, there were some games where I did like it,
like full dive
at MSI, because there's a lot of comps that are running like Aurora plus, you know, Wukong or plus blah, 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 all this stuff that is going to be flanking and trying to like 100% to zero you. And so, and some of those I did kind of like the extra bit of HP so you don't die
like
to the
Bloodmail
burst.
only has 100 more health than Shojin.
Okay,
But they also would get Shojin in that build.
the main benefit of Bloodmail is
that build, they also always get Shojin.
I've
it
seen
gives
people
you a
just do
ton of
Black
damage.
Cleaver and stuff, yeah.
the Overlord Bloodmail build we saw mostly. I think the only people I saw do it was like Caps, Hansama, and then Honkyu did it in that one game where like they had like the insane comeback and then like barely threw it again at the end. But so I don't mind it if I think never is AD carry. If you're AD carry, you're generally like your team's late game insurance, right? Like you need to do a lot of damage late game, and it's not the highest DPS build. Where I do like it is if you're mid and the other team is like a crazy amount of dive, right? And if your goal is, okay, I just want to stand in their face, be annoying, channel my Gatling gun, shoot them with rockets, and then bait them to go on me. And then you're just so tanky that you don't die, and then you can put out a lot of damage. I think in that situation, it's not bad. I don't know if it's necessarily best, but I don't mind it there. But I think if you're AD carry and you're doing that, there's just better options.
Well, also, this discussion, I think, is already dated because the new patch that is dropping today is changing Corki to be more incentivized to building attack damage and not health builds. So I don't think that this is going to be a trend that goes upwards at all. It is definitely, it's already been patched.
Seeing the
a bit.
Navori and stuff, right? Because I
Okay,
feel like
that one makes literally no sense.
just because I feel like a few of these Corgi builds, I'm looking and I'm like, I just don't get it.
No, that one absolutely overcooked.
But yeah, both those games, at least at some point, Dig was in like a reasonable gold lead and felt like they were in a decent position. But they did end up losing both of them. How are you guys thinking about Shopify? Like, do you think Shopify is gonna be like a legit contender? Do you kind of see them as like
I think the same as last split. I think they deserve.
Last split they looked like butt for a long time, and then they ran.
So how they ended last split.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know I saw a lot of people being like, they got to third, but kick them back down there, where they belong or whatever. And I was like, no, like that. I think they legitimately like showed how they improved over the last split, and so I think I'm putting them on like where they finished last split. And I think that they kind of continued and showed that. Like Fludge still playing really well. That was a huge part of it. Contracts and Palfox synergy is like much improved from the very beginning. And looking a lot better. And so, yeah, I at least feel like they kind of deserved their like third place spot and are kind of just continuing that trend. Maybe TL like retakes it from them now that TL have more time with committing to UG, and Impact also should be able to bounce back and not have like what was we kept on bringing up, like, is this his worst split ever? Is this his worst split ever? And it definitely has been.
I think it was one of them.
It definitely has been. So I think that there's a lot of easy kind of low-hanging fruit for him to improve on and kind of raise that level. And so, yeah, maybe like TL fight them and they end up fourth or something. But I think around that area is kind of where Shopify.
I like the interview with Impact after their game this past weekend where, he was just straight up asked, like, what happened last split? Like, you didn't play that well. And he was like, yeah, I was bad.
Yeah, true.
And then he was just so matter of fact about it. Like, he wasn't embarrassed or ashamed or like trying to act like he wasn't. He was just like, yeah, I was playing bad, but I was scrimming against the MSI teams. There's things that I'm learning how to like balance side laning and fighting more. I think I was over grouping, getting behind, that kind of stuff, which is like, I think that's just why Impact's such an awesome dude, right? It's like, even when he's doing bad, it's like, I never want to root against him because he just has such good mindset for the game. So I'm always hoping he bounces back. I think Shopify for me is like fourth right now. I think they're the weakest of the good teams, but I think there's a pretty big gap between the top 4 and bottom 4 right now. I don't know.
I feel like they've taken 100 Thieves spot in the top 4.
Because
last split it was like 100 Thieves was in that top 4, and
Yeah.
It was this crazy record for like top 4 versus bottom 4 in last split, but that seems to have changed.
100 Thieves leave a lot to be desired, like I mentioned earlier. I'm not sold on them. They're gonna have to really turn it around. I think they're right now. I would put them like 6th or 7th if I was redoing power rankings after week 1. I think Dignitas looked the best out of the bottom 4 teams. I feel like I actually think if Tomo was just playing something more normal, right? It almost felt like G2 MSI where it was, no, I'm serious. It's like,
I know, it just sounds funny. It's like Tomo wasn't being such a weirdo with this Navori build.
Dude, okay, look at G2 at MSI, right? It was like they were playing some seriously cooked stuff. But then as soon as Hansama started picking like real AD carries again, like they just look so much better. It's like, if Tomo's on Jinx or Zaya or something and just building normal AD carry items, then it's like, I think it'd be way better than picking like Navori, Corki, and Callisto.
I think we could talk about C9 Lion a bit. I mean, to me, it's, when you're talking about those teams, like where to rank them, I feel like it's hard. It's not really fair to like rank Lion yet because they didn't have Zamudo.
That's true.
And Yayo, I was told is how you pronounce it, not Yayo, but Yayo. That was rough, right? Like that was.
Did you see Dolith's tweet about him?
I did. That was really mean.
That was mean.
It was really mean.
That was mean.
But I mean, it's like even people I'd talked to previous to this. God, what did Kangas was telling me? I'm trying to remember the record, but it was like 1-19 or something when he was in NACL on the team.
Yeah. Well,
like,
his like
career
game
score
of
was
his
like
career
33 or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
That was.
So it's like it's. I knew he had a horrible record. I didn't know it was exactly that, but like no one from NACL was even saying that this made sense. Like I was talking to a number of people who had cast him. What was his name before? It was like Benji something. Bajani, yeah. People were telling me that it's like they didn't even think it made sense from like the tier 2 or like development perspective. My assumption is that it was basically like the reality is they needed to get someone on short notice, and so he was available.
He did tweet out in response to Doublelift's mean tweet. Basically saying like they had 4 days to find someone or something, and like most people were already signed. And he said his part of the reason his record was so bad is because he was playing from like 100+ ping or something in the scene. So it was like, I do feel bad for the dude. I feel like he's not been in good situations. Like, obviously his performance wasn't great, but it does feel kind of like bullying to like harp on him too much because like obviously the circumstances are pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like he's showing up at least. So I do think it's not super fair to like judge the team or him.
No, exactly. Like I'm not. My point is not to dunk on him. My point is just like I don't think we can evaluate the team yet. Like regardless of what the reason is, like individual performance, whatever. Like he had a really really rough showing. But you're also against Thanatos.
Yeah, dude.
Like that is super hard for your. It's like welcome to the LTA. Like boom, and Thanatos is just gonna slam you. I mean, he was down I think like 6K individually in both games or something like that. But it wasn't just him that actually had a rough showing. I mean, I think Saint had a rough showing. I think Audi. I mean, a lot of people were making fun of him for the chase on Vulcan down by the bot tier 2.
Oh my god,
that was like a crazy overchase. I feel like maybe his logic was that he was getting TP'd on and he's going to die anyway, but I think he could have just left early and just not chased for that. There was a lot of like disjointed stuff that was going on in that series for Lyon, so it was definitely a really rough look for Lyon. And even I don't know if Zamudo's going to be here this week or not, but even if he is, it's like if you're splitting scrims, then that can kind of put you behind the 8 ball a little bit too. So, I mean, C9 definitely looked extremely dominant. Like that was not close even a little bit. But Lyon, I'm trying to kind of just like ignore it and reserve judgment, I guess. But definitely a tough start for them.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that I don't know what happened game 1 because when I was looking at it, it was like C9 was playing the like Vi, Rumble, Talia, like a very standard first 3 like very strong picks.
Yeah,
and then Lyon, it's like they just went for the full scaling draft, right? It was like every single role scaled well. So in theory, if you can avoid losing the game super hard early, which is going to be hard to do, you could theoretically outscale. But watching them play out the situations in game felt very odd. It was like it kind of reminded me of the exact same thing we saw from 100 Thieves for the FBI, where it's like you have 3 tanks, you're up against a Vi, you should probably be very far behind them, right? Like, let your team peel for you. But then there was the one fight bot side where Saint like tried to flank as Azir, like one of your only 2 carries, and you're flanking the enemy team. It's like, even if you shuffle someone in, like, that's not good. Like,
yeah, if you trade your life, it's bad.
You lose. Your team needs you to stab them. So that was another one of the situations where I'm like, okay, I feel like we're just not really understanding what we're supposed to do, and we're like, it's not just that it was a bad like play, it was like even a bad look. Like, why are you looking for that? So that didn't give me a lot of confidence.
I feel like that mindset thing comes up with a lot of Azirs at a lot of different points. You know?
Yeah.
The difference between having to switch from I'm a sick playmaker to I'm going to sit with my team, and I am actually the one that people should be shuffling people into, you know, and I can like save it for defense.
I think Azir would have a way higher win rate if he didn't have the option of flying in and shuffling people. Like, if he couldn't do that, he would have a higher win rate because he's such a strong carry if he just sits there and
on
stabs
average
people. But it's like the montage vision, right? It's just like, what if I shuffled 5-man and won the game and I was the hero, and then you go in, like, you get CC'd on your dash, you just die. It's like, all right, well, nice try.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree, especially I think your point is a good one about, like, if you're playing a 2-threat comp, like what you're talking about with 100 Thieves, right? It completely changes. If you're playing this like skirmish heavy comp where you have like, okay, instead of Scion and Trundle, you have like, I don't know, Jason Viego or what, you know, like you have some
I mean, if you're outranged, you're getting poked down, then sure, send it. Like, be the engaged.
Exactly.
If you have carries, absolutely. But like, that's not the case here.
No, exactly.
Sion's not carrying the fight. I'm sorry to say.
No, absolutely was not. Definitely a tough start for Lyon. We'll see how they can do next week, and if Zamudo is going to be back, because I know a lot of people have been pretty excited about Zamudo and what he's actually going to bring to the team. I know he's a very good solo queue player, and does have kind of like a different look on how he wants to play the game. He does some like different style builds, and so it'll be interesting to see what he brings when he does come in.
I actually asked Thanasis about Zamudo, and he was telling me about this phenomenon that happens with promising solo queue top laners when they enter competitive, and I was like, hey, like you said, you were pretty high in Zamudo last time I talked to you. He's like, oh, like he's having like the top lane problem where like you go into pro play or whatever and you lose 1,000 LP in solo queue, and then you're just playing way worse. Like, it happened to Surdy. Thanos said it happened to himself. He sees it with like a lot of top laners where all of us, it's like the way you win solo queue is playing super greedy, just getting ahead 1v9 in the games. But then all of a sudden you're in competitive. You have to play for your team. You're getting lane swapped on all the time. Like, there's all this difference. You're getting punished by things you've never seen before. And you kind of lose some confidence, and you're trying to like readjust. So
it's
we'll
really
see.
It's really interesting too, because like he actually has like he played in NACL and stuff, right? So obviously he has played a fair bit of competitive, but even just the jump from NACL to tier 1, like you're saying,
huge.
It's huge, and you get punished in ways that people didn't even think about. And I do think even in tier 2, he did kind of have that like style of playing more greedy, more for himself and stuff. Like, even when he was playing tanks, I remember looking through some of his builds. Like, he had this game in playoffs in Split 1 for NACL on Scion, where his build is Sterix, Titanic, Overlords, Triforce. Like, you know, he's going like
Triforce.
He's going like full damage, right? I think his Triforce was literally his last item he sold his boots or something for. And he does, you know, like the full AP Gwen that some people have been kind of like big fans of, instead of doing, you know, the more like bruisery Gwen and stuff. He does like Deathcap Lichbane, like full like kind of AP one-shot style. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make that adjustment, but it is definitely something like you said that has happened to a lot of people. It's the same thing with Surdy, and a lot of people do struggle to kind of make that change.
Man, visa issues are so rough for teams, especially in a season where it's like
Super
by
short.
week 4 or 5 you could be eliminated, and it's like, even if he gets here now, I don't know if he is
Still
or
big
not, but it was
disadvantage.
like you've missed all the weeks of scrims, and now you're just playing catch up the entire time. It's like you don't really have time to work on the synergies with the team and like find out a way you want to play. It's like you're just trying to like keep your head above water. How do we get a win next week? What is like the easiest, most band-aid fix we can find? that will maybe keep us alive. And that's so tough because like it's really hard to build off that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I saw from their drafts against C9. To be honest, is they're like, we're gonna go for the most simple, standard scaling thing, and like hope that we get late game when we win. The other matchup was FlyQuest versus DSG, which kind of went, I would say, pretty much as expected. FlyQuest, there's always the question of when a team has these like brutal schedules when they're going to all the international stuff and then they're even doing EDBC and all that after MSI. It's like, okay, are they going to burn out? Are they going to be, too exhausted? Are they going to kind of have this slump and stuff? But it was funny hearing Inspired.
Yeah.
He's like, they're talking about having a day off. And he's like, well, what else are you going to do? Like, there's nothing to do. Like, so
well, he said because Quad was just playing solo queue at his computer, eating food, like, at his apartment or whatever. Instead, he's like, well, why don't you just do that at the office?
And then we can do scrims since you're at the office already. So,
dude, I swear that's always the mentality of the best teams, right? It's like the best teams are never the ones who are like happy that like scrims got canceled that day or like wanting a day off to like do something other than league. They're just like, what? Like, why would we take a day off?
Well, it was really funny because he was sitting right next to Fudge, and Fudge had just got done saying that Shopify took like. Well, he said a 3-week break. I think he might have like overestimated. I don't think they had it. I don't think they even had 3 weeks. But like he had just said that, and then Inspired was like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, fine, we'll do 1 off day. And then they tried to convince me for 2 off days, and I was like, are you gonna take 2 off days?
Yeah.
And just to have those two right next to each other, have the juxtaposition was really funny.
And it sounded like even on the 1 off day, they were still just all playing.
Yeah.
so it was like, that is, they definitely seem to be pretty locked in. It was interesting because we got to see Gakkos his first game, which I thought was like fine. I didn't think it was great.
Little gap by Castle. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean his early lane, he did pretty well against Castle, and then he got solo killed, and then it wasn't as good.
I mean, dude, this
then
was
he got dove after that. I think Castle actually looked pretty.
Dude,
pretty
this was like last split.
Yeah,
and the year before that on Immortals, Castle to me is like the most elo held pro player we have in LTA. Where like I genuinely think this guy looks good in a lot of games, which is hard to do as a top laner on a Giga bottom team.
Yeah,
he is like always in bad situations and then somehow finding the most out of it. There was the one where like he solo killed Gakkos and then he had like the most crazy escape from Inspired. He like flash
Inspired
Q
also
and
tried to super greed his flash and not actually flash, but
I mean
nice.
he like flashed the first Q and then he like barely got a ward jump off of the second Q, or I think it looks like a plant jump or something
plant jump
on the Q flash, and it's just like Castle's playing out of his mind, and then you look around the rest of the map and
everything's
not looking good.
The game too, at least the beginning, this guy's kept closer for a bit in that one, but yeah, this went as expected. I mean, you kind of started off the episode talking about first versus eighth, so that's what it looks like.
I really liked the Swain pick though from Whippo, and
that's what I was gonna say.
It honestly made me even more sad that I just was thinking back to the BLG series where we had the Zillion in that last pick, and I remember when we were watching the draft in the green room when I was like, oh my god, they have 4 melee. Oh my god, Swain would be insane here. This would be so good. And then they locked Zillion and it just instantly solo killed. Instantly everything falls apart.
Has he played Zillion before? Solo kill. Oh, maybe not.
Swain would have gone so hard. And then I'm like, they play Swain. I know it was Bibbo, but come on.
I remember, I swear, every second of the first 10 minutes of that game, just watch. We're getting into it because I'm still so pumped up on adrenaline, you know? Yeah. And so your brain's like, okay, this is important. We got to lock this into memory, right? And I was like, okay, wow. Oh no, he's stepping out of the brush. What is he doing? Oh no, the bottom lane tri-brush thing with Masu. And then I'm looking mid lane. It's like the level 3 Zillions walking up. I'm like, okay, Galio's coming straight at you at the tower. And then he just walks forward into it. And I'm like, what are we doing? No, everything is falling apart in the first 3 or 4 minutes.
I think I've seen smaller mid gaps in auto-filled versus challenger Smurf games. Like that was such an outrage. I don't even want to think about it. Let's move on.
Well, how did we get on that? What the heck?
Because I was just thinking, because I was saying they played Swain, and that's the pick that I wanted them to play. Swain is criminally underused. This pick is so good against melee heavy teams or like teams that have to engage into you. Fighting through Swain is really hard.
I will say the pick wasn't their issue in their game 5.
No,
but yes, I'm here with you.
No, but maybe we live in a different world.
Yes, change the timeline.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Because in the Swain world, Masu's standing in the brush, and
Yeah,
we're totally fine.
I mean, you could be right about Swain. I don't really know what to think about the champion. I think usually when I see him, I always thought he was more on like the undertuned side. Like when I play against him, it doesn't really feel like he does damage. But in the right
really
situation,
situational.
yeah, like if you're up against like like what DSG had, like not necessarily the highest damage comp, takes Sivir a long time to come online, and she has to be next to him to hit him. Is like he was just an absolute wall. Like they couldn't do anything to him.
Yeah, I feel like there are like a section of champions in League that are just absolute Giga S tier, but only in specific situations, right? And people don't really usually play them, but it's like, I feel like Malphite is underused in Pro, right? When people, especially when we're in this like fearless world where sometimes you get later on into a draft and the comps get a little bit wonky, right? Like maybe you're way too AD heavy and stuff. People blind Jace and a comp is AD heavy. It's like Malphite goes super hard in those kind of games because you actually win the 1v1 against Jace and then just have kind of like a lot of value later. I think like Swain is one of those picks. I think even some of the enchanters can be a bit underused. Like I actually think like Janna could be really good against some of these like binary melee heavy comps and stuff. There's just kind of like certain situations where picks can go super hard.
I think my sleeper pick for this season, I think Zach Top is underrated right now. I was playing a little bit of him, and he does a lot of damage in the right matchup. Like if he's not going to get bullied.
Did you go proto belt or did you go full tank?
Just like the normal tank thing,
Riftmaker
like
and stuff, or
Hollow
full tank?
Radiance.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of doing like Galio, but like Hollow Radiance, Riftmaker.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt strong. I can see it being good in the right situation.
Me too. Shen as well. I feel like Shen is kind of like pretty low prio for a lot of people, but it is always interesting. But I just thought it was fun to see the Swain thing come out. That was like my main thing that I enjoyed from that series because I felt like it was pretty much to expectation. Castle definitely looked good in the second game though. I feel like the jury's kind of still out on Rahel and Dark Wings. Again, it's like it's hard to evaluate when you're going up against the like clear best team in the league right now, I think. But it'll be interesting to see how they can actually gel.
Dark Wings definitely seemed a little like jittery in that game. He had some less than optimal plays, but obviously his first experience in Tier 1 playing against FlyQuest, kind of understandable. So yeah, we'll need more time for them.
Yeah, definitely need some more footage of most of them. But we should take a quick little break here before we start to talk about the upcoming patch that just hit live.
Ready, set, go!
I'm at 47%.
Oh, I'm on 63%.
Man, I'm at 50%. Boom! 80% winner!
The Kia EV9 can go from 10% charge to 80% charge in just 24 minutes with DC fast charging.
Welcome back to the dive driven by Kia. We're going to talk about, obviously we have some games coming up this week. What is the one that you guys are most excited for? Because it does feel like, let's be honest, there's a lot of
I think everybody's answer is going to be FlyQuest into Thieves.
Yeah.
I think everybody's answer is probably going to be that, yeah? FlyQuest into Thieves? Or you got
it still seems like the matches seem pretty one-sided. Once again, I don't really expect any upsets. I think it's, you can kind of predict who it's going to go. But I think I'm more excited for C9 versus Dig because unless 100 Thieves really turns it around, I feel like they're just dead in the water. But I thought Dig showed some promise. And, obviously I like watching C9. So
it's funny. We actually all kind of have different answers then. Or I was actually kind of interested for DSG Shopify just because I actually liked the trash talk between them. I thought that was kind of fun in the pick and play ceremony that we did with the banner thing. That was the only one that felt like there was a little spice going back and forth. Because XU was saying that they were kind of like slamming them in scrims, and Fudge is like, well, we got slammed by everybody in scrims.
You're nothing special. There's some famous like football chant that's like, you're nothing special. We lose every week.
Or whatever.
We lose every week. You're not. It's actually so good.
It was actually really funny. But Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of excited for that because I do think it'll also be a better way to kind of evaluate some of the roster changes that DSG did make. I think that like the promo relegation is looming for DSG, right? Like that is the goal, is basically get good enough that you're not going to lose to like Isurus or any, coming from the LLA team that is doing this kind of like super team with like Summit and Ghost and Winston, and then I can't even remember who else is on it, but they have like a bunch of like imports on that team that they're going to be coming up through. I think it's called LRA. And then obviously we have the team with like Insanity and Tactical and Fake God and Zazel and who's the jungler? I can't remember. But anyway, there's like a team with like a bunch of former LCS players.
Is that the Dardock team? The Dardock team's doing really well. I don't think it's that one, but I think they were. Like,
I think that's a
undefeated.
different team.
Okay,
but there's a few teams that are clearly going to be kind of threatening, and so I'm kind of trying to get a better handle on how these new DSG players are going to look. I think for Dark Wings and Rahel, it'll be more of like kind of a fair test than just like going up against FlyQuest. And so I'm actually pretty excited for that. Plus, just with the added knowledge that scrims that was like the one team that they're beating in scrims that like I think that can sometimes actually help. Like as much as people are like, scrims don't matter, it does matter to have some confidence, especially I think as a new player. Like if you're a new player and you scrimmed FlyQuest and you went like 0-20 and then it's like, okay, congratulations, now this is your first stage game and you're playing against them, well, you're probably not feeling too good.
Yeah.
But if you've been running a team in scrims, you could build some confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember that 2018 season where I was on 100 Thieves and we went against Liquid in the finals. Like we had a 5% winner against Liquid in scrims that split or something. Like we got rolled every single time we played them. So then when we're playing them against the finals, it was like, I don't think it was like we were consciously like, thinking we're going to lose, but it does kind of, it's just it's a weird feeling, right? It's like the back of your mind. It's like when things are going well, against a team you're better than, it's just like, yeah, we're going to win this. But it's like, even when things are going well, you're kind of thinking like, all right, like how is this going to fall apart? Like one thing goes wrong and you're like, oh God, this is it. Like those thoughts, it's hard to overlook that, as hard as you want, because you just have all these experiences of just getting like run over by them.
You can't just forget the 40 times you lost to them.
Well,
yeah.
Also, it actually, at least for me, I feel like I see this a lot in the games, and then I know it happens to me like when I play like a really good jungler that I recognize their name. I will just assume that they are doing something that is the perfect answer to what my idea is going to be. And so I will like,
I can't get top. He's going to be in the bush.
Yeah, I will subconsciously like start to seed little things. And so you see this in the games. Like when I'm watching the game, sometimes it'll be like, because people bluff a lot, especially supports. Sometimes top laners, like they'll bluff and they'll get free little things, like little deeper ward, or and you're like, oh well, that team is so good, so he's probably got someone behind him, so I'm not going to go for this player, whatever that I was thinking.
Yeah.
Or, this guy is pushing like a maniac right now, so he must have his jungler on top side. So then you seed a little bit here, and then you give up a little bit more there, and then that all adds up to
especially when they're already better than you.
Exactly, and then they're already better than you. So I feel like those things.
Really the worst one is when you start feeling like everything you know how to do is not going to work. So then you start doing like just random weird stuff. You're like, oh, he's in my head. I got to do stuff he'll never expect. And then it's just so bad that it's just they're sitting there being like, dude, what am I watching right now? Like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, it's when I was playing against Inspired when we did the show match and stuff. I was like, oh man, okay, so he's already gonna be over here. He's taking this scuttle crab, and then he would just like show somewhere else, like ganking somewhere, and I was like, dang, I guess I could have taken that. I guess I could have done that. Whoops. But you just kind of like outplay yourself a little bit sometimes too when you're not confident.
Mm-hmm. I really like what Inspired said when we had him on here for his MVP thing, where it was like talking about when you play those best teams around the world, it's like he just thinks about the champions, right? It's like think about the limitations of the champions, not the players, because like everyone's playing by the same rules, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think nameplates off is like always a good advice to have, but it's sometimes hard to get past those mental blockers.
Unless you specifically know someone's tendencies. Yeah. Right? If you like that this guy, always likes to, go gank some angle or whatever, or they always dodge left, obviously that's going to be a benefit. But yeah, glad you guys mentioned Inspired. That was one of the reasons why I'm kind of looking forward to the 100 Thieves one. Yeah. One, because I was definitely hoping 100 Thieves were going to show up way better at the beginning of this split, and I still believe that they can play much better than they showed on week 1, but also Inspired on Pros was mentioning, just think back to, Split 1 playoffs. They did beat us. They upset us. So, maybe they can. It didn't sound like he really thought that was likely, but he was at least, hanging it out there. And of course, FlyQuest are going to be favored in it, but 100 Thieves did make it happen literally this year, although it quite a while ago at this point. So yeah, hoping that one is good. Plus, I always just like watching River versus Inspired, and we're not going to get to watch River that much.
I'm actually
anymore.
so sad that River is not going to be.
I think everybody is.
He's so good.
He's such a good jungler, and he pushes the other players that he plays against. Because now you always have to think about, is he ganking this angle or whatever, or do I place my vision perfectly, and is he going to use it against me, type of thing. And so I just always like watching that jungle matchup as a little bit of a selfish thing. And I kind of hope that 100 Thieves have a bounce back. And even if they don't win, if they make the series versus FlyQuest competitive, it's going to be so much more fun for our entire league to be able to watch when we have teams that can be competitive, especially versus FlyQuest, and it's going to make their matchups that much more exciting.
I mean, I think in general, it's just going to be interesting for me to see, because like in Split 1, it was this whole, or Split 2, I guess it was, last split, there was this whole discussion of top 4, bottom 4, right? And then clearly by the end of the split, it was clear that it's like, okay, actually it's top 2 and then kind of, and then it's, another tier, and then there's the bottom 4. And so I'm really interested to see if any team is going to be able to kind of rise to actually really challenge C9 and FlyQuest. Because at the end of the day, there are going to be 2 potential world spots. We get 1 guaranteed, and the other we have to beat LTA South for, right? And I think everyone from LTA South and North is going to be looking at it and saying, well, those 2 spots are probably FlyQuest and C9s, right? And so everyone is going to be chasing those teams. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see, if any team can really kind of like rise to the occasion and push those teams and get to a point where you don't know if they're going to be the ones actually going to Worlds or not. Like, can TL or Shopify or whoever, really be able to actually level up to a point where that is a big concern and a big consideration, because that's just going to make playoffs and stuff. And I think the rest of the split way more exciting if we get that extra team that is really kind of pushing them.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see some close matches, honestly, like any team, any single team. I would love to see people step up. I don't want to see another speedrun of Stomps.
I think we'll get we are going to get a closer match this week for sure. I feel like it has to.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll accept that.
Deal.
We'll lock it in. Deal. All right. The patch is out, and patch 25.15 has some changes. To me, it's been interesting to see all these nerfs towards the melee supports. The Braum ones over the last 2 patches is actually crazy, because usually when there's like a couple armor nerf, people can see that being pretty impactful. Braum last patch lost 5 armor. This patch loses another 7 armor base.
And per level
armor. It's like you're losing 12 base armor. That is crazy.
But I like the direction, because they're not just doing...
Because you're like, because I want to kill that Braum.
Well, I certainly do. And we have had this meta of all of these S-tier engaged supports that we see just picked up in all of the early games in Fearless. You just go down the list and you pick them all up. And so they're not just doing Braum. There's 7 armor here off of Alistar. Rel is also getting a nerf here. So I kind of like that direction. To shake it up a little bit, because engaged supports I think are good and healthy for the game. I think it is actually more fun to watch when those are like the meta, but we can do with a little bit of mix up, and they can be a little bit less tankier, especially so junglers can kill them a little bit more.
Yeah, that 7 armor is a ton.
It's a lot.
That is a lot of armor, especially
especially the double nerf on Braum. 12 base armor plus armor per level also lost.
He got huge.
I think armor per level is not as big as it might seem on supports, because I don't know if you guys knew the specifics of it, but I watched Riot Instep's like super long video about like the Kled rework he did, and I didn't know this, but the way that per level stats work for scaling champions is it's like going from level 1 to 2, you get 70% of that value, and then going from 17 to 18, you get 130% of that value. So like each level you get closer to 18, you get more and more of your per level.
There,
But like I didn't realize it was
But
that big
still,
a difference.
Braum is like basically starting the game minus a cloth armor.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
it's
that
big.
is actually crazy. I mean, it's 12 base instead of 15. The cloth armor is obviously 15, but that's 300 gold of stats. Like that is crazy for like level 1 being that much weaker.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see how it is because like currently Braum doesn't have the issue of being too squishy. Usually engaging on Braum does not end well for the team engaging on him.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll bait people into trying it more.
I mean, I don't think Braum's going to just like, oh my God, he got one shot by nothing, right? But like the question I think is going to be more like, can you poke him down in lane? Can you actually
definitely.
make it so it's like, it's no longer worth playing Braum because he gets punished too hard early and these kind of things. And I know the other consideration with that is obviously a lot of the most like bully lanes are like a lot of magic damage and stuff, right? So like maybe it wouldn't be as impactful there, but like early skirmishes, he could be a lot weaker for sure. I do think it's like a pretty significant change.
Oh yeah,
And
his lane is going to get hurt a lot because
Yeah.
I mean, even if the lane bullies for magic damage is like early game auto attacks are relevant,
Yep,
minion
physical,
damage is
yep.
relevant, right? It's like all of that matters so much. Like 7 base, I don't remember the last time I saw somebody lose 7 base armor, and Alistair's getting the same thing. So like
Yeah.
that definitely could change how a lot of their lanes go.
And especially Alistar, I feel like is generally a really weak laner, especially like early. First couple levels are already kind of rough, so it could be interesting to see. I do think it would be fun though, as far as like if it is actually mixing things up a lot in Fearless, because I mean some of the roles are a lot more unpredictable in draft, but generally like you watch MSI and they're just picking one of like 5 or 6 like tanky supports with like Nico added in, right? It's Rel, Rakan, Leona, Nautilus, Alistar, Braum, Nico, and basically like those supports would just get like picked based on like whatever. Maybe they do it
Some Bard.
Yeah, some Bard. But generally speaking, it's like you could kind of know what they're going to pick. It's just like one of these engagey supports or a Braum.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it does open the door for more variety, like maybe some more aggressive picks or some more risky supports and stuff could come in. Could be kind of fun to see. I see a decent amount of like Pantheon support and stuff in like things like solo queue, but like that could be kind of fun to watch. Hey, maybe those kind of things can be opened up for.
Yeah, I think
maybe you take your OP Pantheon jungle and you send him support.
well, the one other pro play patch note that I was going to highlight is that Pantheon is getting his monster damage reduced. So 50% reduction on his Q to monster damage. And I think that's the other one that's most relevant for pro play.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these other changes are a lot of solo queue focus. I love
Rek'Sai?
I love the Bel'Veth one. Yeah, Rek'Sai. I was gonna ask you as far because they're such a Rek'Sai lover. To me, I like playing Rek'Sai when she is clearly like the highest win rate jungle, which does happen to like a decent bit towards like skewing on high elo. But it's only because when she's like super crazy at snowballing or something. And these adjustments, at first when they announced some of them, they were stronger, I think. And now I'm not quite as excited.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think the patch comes out like today, so I'm gonna go back and play some Rek'Sai and try it out. But I like the direction of it. I've always thought that like her ult is very, very clunky as far as like when you end it and then you're just kind of like there's a delay before you can act again. The only thing you can like instantly do is your E if you have it. But now it'll make it so like you can instantly burrow after ulting, so you can use it as an engage tool. I think will be cool. So I'm definitely excited to try it out. I like that the E's going back to true damage, losing a bit of like base armor and armor per level, so she's going to be like a little bit weaker. But I don't know. I don't expect to see Rek'Sai in pro play. I think she's still like pretty far off from being viable there. But any changes, the champion.
I think her and Bel'Veth are definitely solo queue focus.
The patch in general feels like relatively small. Like there are some like big changes, but there's not that many different ones. It feels like. So
they usually do the alternating ones.
Yeah.
Bigger one next time.
I do like the Baron change though, that they're just completely removing like Baron's regen. In
finally.
combat. So that like it gained 100 HP, but its health regen per 5 goes to 0. So that's just nice that it doesn't randomly regen and you miss a smite or something.
We finally got justice for Santorin.
Right? I know.
Call him up. Get him back.
Yeah, I mean, after the Santorin thing, they made it so it couldn't level up in combat, right?
Yeah.
But it still kept its regen. So finally, like that is just gone, which I think feels really, really nice.
Yeah, 100%. Just easier to calculate.
Yep.
The biggest change, though, of the entire patch, of course, there's a Volibear skin coming out. I'm in there. Finally getting a new Volibear skin.
He's so popular lately.
I know. I'm
He's
so mad.
everywhere.
It's freaking Perry. Perry Jungle makes a lot of YouTube videos, and he like went to Korea and like got high rated on Korea with it, and so it actually gets picked and banned now in my solo queue games. I'm pissed.
What's your backup?
I play Jarvan, Nocturne. Oh, I started playing more Jax because they increased Jax's attack speed from his passive, and so it actually made him a lot better in jungle. You're clear, and Jax always just like hard shits on Volibear. So if they ever pick Volibear, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but that is like the best counter.
Yeah,
because Counter-Strike absolutely just dookies on your whole kit.
Well, there's tech
Jax and Lilia
as Voli. If you time your Q auto, you can stun him like as his stun goes off. So like you stun each other.
Yeah.
It's unstoppable, right?
Yeah. It'll go through, but you have to time. Like if you mistime and do it early, then
you're just
pretty bad.
You're just so screwed. Yeah, and he just goes on you, and it's maximum pain. But yeah, that's
you can see the flashbacks going through his eyes.
That's why I started playing Jax jungle.
I feel like the other thing that's sick about Jax is like everyone's gonna think it's top lane, so then the other guy will like counterpick Jax top, and then your top laner counterpicks that. Then they're pissed.
I always first pick no matter what, just because I'm like. One of my laners is gonna screw it up and get counterpicked super hard.
That's funny. Did you guys want to talk about ADC a little bit?
Oh, so the Dante's thing?
Yeah, well, and just like Azap is doing a challenge, Dante's did a challenge. There's just a lot of talk. I mean, I feel like ADCs are always complaining, so that's nothing new. That's just League of Legends.
I get it, dude.
But
I get it.
Yeah,
it's like I've been doing the costume with like Sneaky and Double It for a long time, so I'm always like getting 2v1 on their cringe AD carry takes. But at the same time, I understand it because
you're so team reliant.
Yeah, it's like it's not that fun a lot of the time, right? It's like it's really annoying to lose to an AD carry when there's like, a 4-item Xayah with like a bunch of peel and stuff. But I kind of mentioned this last week when we were talking to Yellow, but I feel like enchanters are the real villains here that keep AD carry from like being good, because it's like AD carries have to exist in a world where like they can play with an engaged support or like on their own, right? But also not be way too OP with a Lulu or something on them. It's like these enchanters make you like so tanky that you can just survive divers full comboing you, right?
And the highest sustained DPS.
Yeah, and it gives you a lot of damage. But the thing that also is like almost every enchanter gives a ton of move speed as well, which is just like it feels. And I think just if I was an AD carry player, that would feel really bad to be kind of like reliant on somebody else to be able to play the game properly. So I don't really know how that whole situation could be changed, but I do think it makes it really hard for the role,
especially with Yunara being new in the game right now. And Yunara, you gotta play an enchanter with this champ. It is so busted. It is crazy. All these Yunara Lulus and these Yunara Yumis even.
Yeah.
I think I saw something like Yumi's gonna get another nerf or something. I'm very happy whenever I see more Yumi nerfs. But like, yeah, Yunara, I feel like is gonna be really, really powerful when she comes in, because she is a hyper carry style champion that can spike on way earlier on just a couple of items. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to when we do get to see Yunara, but it's definitely one of those AD carries that, like you're saying, with Enchanter is crazy.
Dude. You start talking about Yumi and like, I was just thinking, you know, what grinds my gears more than anything else is Yumi players that type the whole game, right? Okay, what if they made it so you can't type if you're attached on Yumi? your chat doesn't work.
That's actually so good. That's so good.
There's nothing more annoying than a keyboard warrior Yumi who's like vision score of 1 at like 30 minutes. And you're like telling people what to do. I'm going to lose my entire mind right now.
Oh, that's funny.
That is good. It disables your chat. You can't hit enter.
It makes meow noises.
Actually,
it actually types out no matter what.
Meow 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 meow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in WoW if you were Horde and you're trying to type the alliance.
Yeah.
So if you're Yumi, it just taps.
If you're attached, it's just meow 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 meow.
There's nothing worse than that, man.
Yeah, the ADC stuff I think is a bit of a hard solve. I mean, I will say I probably see consistently the worst takes ever from ADC players, like out of any role. I see so many clips on Twitter of like, it's so BS. How did I not win this duel or whatever? And it's like, you know, a Draven 1v1ing like a 6-item Renekton or whatever, and the guy like face checks him in the brush, and he's like, what could I, you know? It's like, well, you're not really supposed to, right? Like, you're not, like, that's kind of just how the kit works. AD carries in generally are not good at dueling, right? They're not great at 1v1 and stuff. And I think the reality is it's like, for them to be able to succeed more on their own, you have to remove some of the scaling elements, I think, from AD carries, because I think that it's like AD carries, you have to, if you want them to be more successful early and be able to have the, like, you know, their more 1v1 potential and all this sort of stuff, they probably need more health. They probably need more early damage. They need this sort of stuff. They need to be less reliant maybe on late game crit multipliers and all this sort of thing. But then that has to come with the drawback, right? Because you can't just be the strongest at every stage of the game. And like the reality is most games do come down to AD carries in the late game. Like when you look at pro play and organized play, it's like it's mostly about the AD carry. Talk to any play-by-play caster, and like when I started doing play-by-play, one of the funniest things is everyone is like, okay, so you just have to look at the AD carry, and when anything happens with them, that's when you really like ramp up, because that's all that matters. And it's like it's kind of true.
Yeah. The other side of what you were saying too, though, is like you run into this other separate issue of like, okay, now AD carries are in solo lanes everywhere.
Yeah.
And if they're
And that's
strong
horrible
early,
for top lane.
Yeah, I mean, so many champions just because AD carries, like their auto attacks are, you know, like the strongest thing in the game, right? They have like all these multipliers. They have. It's basically like a spell with a half-second cooldown that can crit, and you know,
Cost no mana,
and it's unavoidable, right?
Yeah.
So that definitely can be an issue for them. You know what my cook was for it is give AD carries a new starting item, right? That's somewhat similar to a support item where like you get benefits if you're near somebody else in your lane, and like give it some like transforming like. Scaling thing. Basically, it just makes it so like if you're a bot lane AD carry, you get some kind of benefit from laning with somebody else, because then you could give them power without them like taking over solo lanes.
Yeah.
I think something like that could be cool.
That's interesting. I mean, I just think it's really a hard problem to solve, because there's lots of ways you can approach it. Like you can take away some of their scaling power, take away some of like the strength of these late game items like IE and things like that, and make it so like there's earlier game items that are more powerful. You can make things like Shield Bow stronger earlier. You could bring back things like Gale Force that felt like give them more utility. You can do all these things, but then if you're going to do that, they're going to be more successful in solo lanes like you're talking about. They're going to be more successful in 1v1s, but then you're going to have this problem of like, okay, well now all of a sudden, if you remove some of their scaling power, now who's supposed to kill tanks late game? And then
Tanks
that has
and
to
bruisers,
be
right? Like I think bruisers are the real ones. It's like tanks can get killed by other stuff too, like mages with Leanders and
Bruisers
stuff.
have so much
kill 'em, but like
sustain.
bruisers, yeah, like they are only countered by AD carries. It's like your Renekton, your I was gonna say Jax, but like he's pretty good against AD carries. But you know, like Alawi, those types of champions, it's like as soon as the AD carry has like 3-4 items and you can just kill them in a few seconds, then like they can't play the game. But until then, or if you play them in those games where there's no AD carry, there's like a mage bot, like they just run absolutely rampant on everything.
I think your idea for the specific item to solve at least the AD carries going to solo lanes is a good one, because it already makes sense. Like we've already accepted it with supports. And jungle pets and stuff. Yeah, and it's less crazy than like the lane swap detected weird like unseen rules. So at least the item thing, you can see it. I don't like the weird unseen rules that sometimes get locked in, or like when we've had like minions in different lanes operate differently. Like that's just crazy.
The mid lane cannons give 10 less gold.
Yeah, like
wait, that's the weirdest change.
Why are we adjusting that? That type of stuff is
even the like attachment thing though would be hard. Like if I think about it through the lens of pro play, you think about how very often after the first couple of minutes, it's like, yeah, maybe they lane swap, but a lot of times the AD carries are left solo mid lane, or like, soaking XP and stuff like that. It's like, I think was it the Yon game or the Masu game where he was, I think it was Yon, where he was like,
he was the first 18 in the game.
Yeah, he was level 18 as Ezreal, above the Victor who had Roa that had
that was crazy.
And so it's like clearly he's just soaking solo XP. But yeah, it's just a really hard problem, because there's individual elements of the problem that are easy to solve. AD carries don't have enough early game agency. Okay, make them stronger. Well, then now they're running over every solo lane. Okay, well now that you make them weaker late game to like compensate. Okay, well now no one can kill the bruisers. So it's like the whole thing is obviously really, really hard to solve. But the biggest thing I sympathize with is the fact that it is a role that is so like your success is so dependent upon your teammates.
Yeah.
But the problem is when your teammates are playing really, really well and like at pro play, I think it's by far the most important thing like later in the game, right? And so it's, to me, like that is always the really tough thing to kind of balance around, is that it's like if they don't want them to just be giga OP in pro play, then they end up being weak for normal players because it's like a lot of times you can't even depend on your team to do like basic things to peel for you in solo queue, which is just going to be really, really frustrating.
Yeah,
I definitely sympathize with that.
I mean, all those things you're talking about, it's like I don't envy the people who work on the balance team for League because like I actually think there's been some discussion about like, you know, from who is it like Mid Beast
Saying the game is too balanced.
Yeah, Mid Beast and like Nemesis and like I actually think the game's in a really good spot right now. I've been playing a ton and like having a lot of fun with it. But it is definitely hard because like you try tweaking one thing that you think will be a
changes
help,
everything.
and it's like it literally like cascades. It affects every other part of the game, and all of a sudden it's just like wow, like whoops.
Something people bring up a lot is like the ability to 1v9. And so you guys are kind of discussing like an agency of an AD carry depends on the team. People also really want to be able to, from any position to feel like they're having a really big effect. And some of the worst feelings in League are when you feel like you are powerless because of what the rest of your team is doing. And so if your team is like screwing up something, then, you know, like that's when people get most frustrated. And I feel like that leads to a lot of the psychology around League and any team game. But obviously that's going to be most extreme with an AD carry. And I think you just have to accept the design of this role is that you are going to be the one that is most team reliant because you are going to be the one that is most damaging for these team fights for later. And so you have to accept some level of having less agency early on in order to have the dream and like the benefit of I get to be the guy getting a lot of these kills later on in 5-on-5s.
Yeah, and the thing you're saying about, I've definitely heard this one a lot. It's like, yeah, you know, like bring back like the ability to solo carry, like give everyone more agency. And it's just like, how does that work? Like if everyone can solo carry, then like how can anyone solo carry, right? It's like if there's 10 people in the game.
Plus, God, when people say that, I'm always like, yeah, you want a 1v9. I want a 1v9 too. But guess what you don't want? You don't want your top laner who died twice in the first 3 minutes to have decided the entire game for your team. Because doesn't that mean that the Riven should be able to 1v9 now because he got 2 early kills? It's like, well, I didn't even get to play yet.
Which is why I kind of bring it up because to me, that would mean the game would be less balanced, right? If there's more extremes,
way more snowball.
You're talking. I feel like they were kind of talking about similar things of like, oh, the game is more balanced because there's less extremes and because there are less like options and stuff. And like that is a way of balancing if you kind of like pat down the big extremes and like options and like big benefits and drawbacks of certain decisions. And so you kind of have to like balance all of those and come to a decision. I did also like when there are more differences and extremes, you know, differences in rune choices, differences in items. I was always a big fan of like Dota items that actually have like crazy actives, like the whirlwind thing, or like the blink dagger and stuff like that.
BKB and
But obviously that's going to be less balanced because that's way harder to balance because there's extreme power there and lots of like differences in play. And so those are the kind of different factors you go into when you're like balance and ability to 1v9 games are.
I mean, I feel like the thing that nobody wants to hear is I think you actually can 1v9 a lot more games than people give themselves credit for. It's like take, you know, who's like some of the best solo queue players ever, right? It's like just for an example, like TF Blade, right? It's like he loves doing his like unranked to challenger things. And it's like he gets to like master GM with like insane win rates every time. And it's like he's not getting lucky. Like he clearly knows how to get huge advantages and use it to carry the game. And, you know, I don't really like that whole thing of like, you know, people intentionally playing in lower ratings, but it just goes to show that it can be done, right? It's like if you're actually playing well, you can win a lot. It's the same reason like, you know, all the Korean players who come over to other regions, stuff like they get super high rated in solo queue every single time. Like they don't just, you never see Thanatos sitting there being like, oh, well, you know, got a bad team, guess I'm stuck in diamond this season. It's just like, no, that's not a thing. Like it's just, it's always cope. So I don't know. At some point, it's just like, you know, it's just something people say. It doesn't have a lot of weight behind it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is interesting, right? Like there's But it's also, I guess, like everyone wants to feel that power, but the reality is everyone can't, right? Like if the game is super high skill cap, well, only a certain amount of players are gonna be able to do it. Nemesis also, I know his response to it was less about like the balance thing. His response I thought was kind of interesting. He says, "I don't think the game is too balanced, but rather too bland. Items are overly simplified. Runes haven't changed. Had a meaningful update in ages. Objectives all feel the same. Blah blah blah." I actually kind of more agreed with his take.
Yeah,
because
I think that was good.
To me, it's like, I think this has been a complaint of mine ever since we did the runes. It's like it was runes reforged. Pick your play style was their whole thing, right? And that was what we were selling. Is that it's like you choose the rune based on the style of gameplay you want to play. And I think it was like a little true at the start, but then everything got nerfed to the point where it's like everything is so generic. Even at the start, the reality is there's so many just damage runes that are the same thing. It's like, really, what is the difference in playstyle between Comet, PTA, Airy, Electrocute, even Conqueror, Lethal Tempo, whatever? It's all just like which one fits with your champion's kit to do the most damage. They're all literally the same thing. The only ones that are like playstyle-y to me were like maybe kind of like Aftershock. Okay, I'm going to be the like engaged tanky guy. Phase Rush, I actually think is a really cool, interesting rune. Spellbook, right? There's like a couple, but
Predator.
mostly Predator was really cool too.
That's the thing.
Until you get
but it's
Predator
gone now.
ganked by a Gragas because you were not right under your turret.
That's the thing. So that's why I really like having more interesting choices. Those are definitely going to be harder to balance.
Super hard.
So like these two things are super related.
I completely agree. I guess I would rather it be a little bit less balanced, but have more interesting choices.
Yeah.
Items, I feel like I used to really love thinking about itemization. If you want to talk about a complaint for AD carry that I sympathize with, oh my God, you build the same thing every game on every AD carry. You just go Yuntal into a Zeal item, into IE, whatever, or like into, IE and then LDR, right? Like it's like so many characters, you're just building literally the exact same thing on every single game. And none of it feels any different, right? It's like, okay, I'm playing Shen. Do I build a Sunfire Cape or a Hollow Radiance? Oh, well, he's doing magic damage. So it's I just think that most builds all feel the same, and none of them really feel like they're changing the way you play much. There's a few exceptions. It's one of the things I actually like about like Warmog's Mundo Rush. It feels like, oh, you actually kind of change the way you play a little bit, right? But there's very few ways. And so I would rather it be less balanced and have Gale Force and things like this in the game.
I do find myself missing mythic items because I always thought that like the general sentiment was like people were really happy with mythics getting taken out. But I thought they were cool, man. Like Gore Drinker, like playing a bruiser with Gore Drinker was so sick, right? It's like it took skill. You had to like get low HP in a lot of people, get a fat proc. Like obviously when it happens to you, it feels like it's some BS. But I thought that stuff was cool, man. And going off what you were saying about runes, I totally agree. I think the thing I've always noticed with the rune changes is there's this like bottom line they don't tell you where like I think a huge design goal was they don't want you to like lose the game because you got the wrong runes, because that used to happen all the time, right? When you had like runes and masteries, it's like, oh god, guys, I have magic pin and AP.
They took out armor shards and MR shards, which actually significantly changed the win rates of matchups. Those just got
well, that one was good because you wouldn't get like flex pick cringed.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it'd be cool if runes are more like class bases. Like, if you're a bruiser or you're a fighter, you're an AD carry, you have access to like this subset of runes that like only your class gets, so you can be like strong in certain ways that other people can't also take advantage of. I think something like that would be really cool, because when it is one size fits all, they have to be like kind of bland, right?
You just pick the one that does the most damage for your specific character, right?
And dude,
top lane
right now, the runes are kind of ridiculous. It's like I kind of see why Zeus was playing like Grasp Lee Sin and Grasp Yone and stuff, because it's like your rune page plays your lane for you. It's like you play Cassante, it's like you grasp auto them, you shield bash them, you second win like unflinching. It's like these are so insane for the lane.
Have you ever watched Lorlo, like, or his shorts and stuff? That's like people always talk about Lorlo. It's like he plays the most ridiculous, like horrible build you've ever heard of, but he just plays like Grasp Ignite, like Scorch, whatever, or like Biscuits, just like all the super OP laning things, and he's playing like AP Yasuo top, but he's still like solo killing people because it's like you say, it's more about it often feels like the rune setup in the early levels and how strong they are, especially if you're playing like range champions and stuff, even though I know Grasp has been nerfed.
Yeah, definitely agree. I'd like some more room to play with, I guess. It can come with the cost of balance, but giving people the opportunity to kind of get there is what's exciting, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the one to unbalance the game by figuring something out and then using that.
Well, and I just always like the opportunity to feel clever about my choices. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm going into this game, and because they have like X, Y, and Z style champions, going this champion, and then I can go this sort of rune setup. I can build this item. It's going to be really, really effective in this game. Like, that was smart of me. I got a big advantage, you know? And it just doesn't really feel like that very often anymore. There's like some examples like, okay, they have a Trundle and their top lane is slow reliant, so I can play phase rush and get an advantage. But like largely everything kind of just feels very homogenous now.
That's why I was so sad when they talked about taking away actives on items, because so many people that play League of Legends don't remember to use them.
Yeah.
Because those are the most fun to me. Like, I love building Proto Belt on like anybody that even has any kind of AP ratios, because having another dash is it feels so good. And if you remember to use your active items, then like the active items I feel like are the most fun ones, rather than like you're saying, okay, I go back to base, I have more damage now. I bought my, IE, I bought my, whatever Zeal item, I bought my blah, blah, blah. It's this like, I have better stats now, or I can do something different
that I couldn't before. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's really interesting. Your what you said there makes me think, because everyone talks about how League players have gotten so much better, right? And
the more people use their actives now.
That's what I'm curious about, because when the DFG discussion, I don't know if you guys remember this. This was like a stat that I actually posted back when I was on playtest team, because I was told that was fine to post, and it was like the reason they removed DFG. It was like in the stats of it, it was about 2% of players used their DFG after they bought it. And so it was like actively just like destroying players' games. Like no one was using actives. It was crazy to see the numbers. Like I just did not believe it. And they showed me some of the data and it was like, what? No one uses their buttons? And
that one's hard to believe for me. Like
you were playing in like all challenger games, so obviously those are
those are
like the 0.01% that everyone's using it.
But
always.
I mean, 2% of people, like,
yeah,
that's such a crazy. I could see like half the people not doing it, but like
a lot of the stats blew my mind. This was like I remember I got to do some balance changes for Kindred, who I really really loved, and this was this is like really outdated, so maybe this isn't true anymore. But guess what the average amount of marks people got per game at Kindred on that time?
It's like 2 or something, huh? Is it even 4? Oh,
it was under 2. It was like 1 point something, and it was like people just don't use the basic part of the kit, right? Like they just don't use the buttons, and so this was, to be fair, like 10 years ago, right? And so I wonder, maybe it's less true now. It would be cool.
Need some updated data.
Well, I was gonna say like
it would be interesting.
You do also need to keep in mind that like we're kind of talking about, there are a huge amount of players that don't read tooltips. They don't want to do anything. They just want to like pick their champion, load in game, and like click all the recommended stuff. Like recommended runes, great. Recommended items, great. Like, oh, this one's got an active, don't want that. So I think it is worth, like those players should be able to have fun too.
Yeah,
true,
totally. But I also am fine with those players being at a slight disadvantage. If you don't want to use active items, as long as it's not like all the players. Either way, that was a fun episode back. It was a long one. Thank you everyone for tuning in for this episode of The Dive. That is going to wrap it up for us. Thank you, Kia, as well, for sponsoring us as always. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of The Dive driven by Kia. You can also check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere else. The LTA returns this Saturday, August 2nd. It is 1 p.m. Pacific. 100 Thieves is going to be taking on FlyQuest. We'll see you all there.